Hi and welcome to today's episode in which we get creative with some lentils and make a tofu alternative. I keep a little list of recipe ideas on my Google Keep, and I've had a recipe for lentil tofu on this list for a couple of years. I keep thinking, I should make that tofu, have a go at it. When I was in my YouTube studios the other day, there's a new research tab, so it tells you sort of content gaps and things that your viewers are interested in. I saw lentils as a content gap and thought, I've got a lentil thing that I want to try. Let's do that today. The recipe I initially found was from powerhungry.com. I'll put the link down in the description, and I'm going to add in a couple of other bits and pieces just to add some texture in there. Before we get stuck into the cooking part, I just wanted to make a quick note on the mayo video. I've had a lot of comments, very positive comments, people really liking the kind of produced style when I got an external videographer in. Unfortunately, I'm at a place I can't afford external help. So for the time being, at least, it's just going to be all me. And obviously doing everything yourself is somewhat limiting. I don't really get any income from doing the videos, nothing from YouTube at the moment. I've just got some patrons who very kindly support me, but that money's not even enough to cover ingredients most months. If you really liked that style of video, I do want to get to that stage where that's going to be the usual style of getting someone in so I can just focus on the fun bits. But you can help me get to the monetized level by sharing the video. You can also donate at Ko-fi, I'll put a link down there. Or if you want to do ongoing monthly support, I'll put the link to the Patreon as well. We'll be using red split lentils in this recipe. So if you've seen the pulses and legumes video, I talk a bit about them. We also use these in the vegan chicken liver pate video because they cook super fast. They've got a fairly neutral flavor and a really nice texture that lends itself to spreads, pates, that kind of thing. I'll put links to everything in the description for you. The lentils are in the blender ready to go. So I took 3/4 of a cup, it's about 140 grams of the lentils, rinsed them under cold water. I added in 1.5 cups of boiling water, it's about 355 milliliters, and then that's just been soaking for about 20 minutes. So now I'm gonna blend this up until it becomes really smooth. This one is a high-speed blender, so it's gonna rip through this much faster than a regular blender would. But according to the recipe, you can just use a normal style one as well. It just will take a bit longer. That's been blending for a minute. I'm just going to scrape the sides down with a spatula just to get any chunky bits back into the blades. So the texture of it's already sort of quite thickened. I'll blend this for another minute, and I'm also going to start warming up this large pan. You do want quite a big one because otherwise it's going to go everywhere. I've got 1.5 cups of just room temperature water. So that's again about 355 mils. Pour the mixture in. And then I'll whisk in that cup of water. And then we need to cook this on a medium-high heat. I'm going to start it at 7, mine goes up to 9, and then I'll probably start dropping that down as it thickens. You could probably do this with an immersion blender as well, just put everything in a bowl or a large jug, that kind of thing. So you do want to be paying close attention to the bottom of the pan. So I'm kind of rubbing it like I'm rubbing the whisk like that. And this needs to cook 6 to 8 minutes according to the recipe. Yeah, I'm going to turn this down to 5 now. That's only been in the pan, I think maybe 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, and it thickens up really quickly. I'm going to go with a spatula because that's got a nice flat edge that I can get on the bottom of the pan. Yeah, so you can see it does stick really easily, so just be mindful of that. Keep it moving. Scrape things off the side of the pan as well. I'll talk you through the bits that I'm going to add into it. I'm going to use some sesame seeds. These are just white sesame seeds. Some flaked almonds. These are almonds that have had the skins removed and then they've been cut into thin slivers. I'm going to add some chia seeds. These will give a nice bit of crunch, also a nice amount of fibre and protein. These are 20% protein. And then I'm going to add some smoked sea salt and a little bit of MSG, just to get a bit of flavour, some savouriness going on inside it. I've got an 8x8 inch square glass dish that I'm going to pour the mixture into, and that'll give nice little cubes. You don't need to grease it or anything, apparently. We'll find out. I've got a feeling as it sets, it's going to shrink a little bit, so it'll pull away a touch from the sides. So now at a really nice thick stage, so I'm going to add the other bits and pieces in. I might give it another minute, because it says it needs to be very thick and glossy. It is very thick, but I don't know if I'd label that as glossy per se. I'll start with 1/4 teaspoon of the smoked sea salt. I just don't want to over salt it or anything. And 1/2 teaspoon of the MSG. Work that through. Just going to give that a little taste, see if it needs any more salt. I'll do another 1/4 teaspoon of the salt. I don't think the appearance has changed any in the last couple of minutes, so start with a tablespoon of the chia, a tablespoon of the sesame seeds, and I'll do maybe 3 tablespoons of the flaked almonds. Give that a really good mix together. That should be a good amount of texture in there. So let's get this into that dish. And then we need to smooth this out. So I'm just getting it into kind of an even layer as much as possible. You can see it kind of starts setting as soon as you get it off the heat. So it's not even at all. It's sticking quite badly to the spatula. Ultimately, it's not going to matter at all to the taste. I'm going to let this cool down completely, so I'll leave it for an hour or two maybe, something like that, just so it's cold, sets firm. And then we'll maybe chop it up, put a couple of pieces in the air fryer and see what it's like. It's tofu releasing time. If you can see there, it has shrunk like I suspected it might. I'm going to invert it onto a chopping board and then I can slice that down into cubes. Board on, try and get it kind of in the middle, and then just flip it upside down. Oh, perfect. Look at that. Clean as a whistle. Yeah, so that's firmed up real nice. So I'm going to do little cubes, I think. It slices very nicely. It's not really sticking to the knife. And then we'll rotate it a little bit and then we can make cubes. So there we go. All in little cubes. I'm going to air fry a couple pieces of the tofu and then we can see what it's like as a cooked thing. It's cooked as it is, it can be eaten like that. But I just want to see what it's like with a bit of crispness on the outside. I'm going to dredge it in corn flour and then just put a couple of pieces in, coat every side. So here's the tofu after crisping. Let's have a go. Hot. The texture's quite soft. It's in between an extra firm tofu and a silken tofu. So like a medium soy tofu. And that crispness on the outside really adds something to it. That's really good. The seeds and the nuts in there give a nice bit of texture, because otherwise it's just going to be a fairly uniform consistency. So adding those extra bits just gives it a little bit more interest. So there's the texture inside the other piece. It does taste mildly of lentils, but I mean, it's made out of lentils, what can you expect? But because we've used the red ones, it's really mild, very subtle. And as soon as you start putting other things on there, that's going to go away. I think I'm going to do a batch tonight for dinner, and I might do tamarind and gochujang sauce like I did for the stir fry. And I think with that sauce, because it's quite an intense flavour, you won't notice the lentils. When I do the edit, I'll perhaps do a cost breakdown on the screen for you so you can see exactly how much it costs to produce. The seeds are going to pump that price up, but leave those out, and I reckon under £1, something like that. Yeah, not bad at all considering a block of tofu. I get like a 450 gram block, and I think that's £3.50. And that's easily 850 grams worth of product there. And I reckon even with the seeds, maybe £1.50, £2, maybe, including electricity, water and all of that. You could possibly try soaking the lentils for hours, maybe overnight, and then you wouldn't have to use the boiling water at the beginning. That would take your cost down a little bit. You know, because electricity is crazy at the moment, so anything like that will help. I've got a few different types of lentils and beans in the cupboard, so I might play around, try different ones, see what happens, maybe even do a video in the future. We'll see, maybe do like 3 or 4 different types. Red lentils are going to be the only ones we can do in this manner, you know, just sitting it in boiling water, but perhaps either soaking them overnight and then going from that stage so everything's softened at least, or even just cooking them and then blending it down. When we put the 1.5 cups of water into the pan when it was on the stove, that could easily be a cup of water and half a cup of stock, or half a cup of water, a cup of stock, all stock, that kind of thing. I did think about putting za'atar in there, but I thought, well, if I do that, it's going to restrict what recipes I can use it in, because you can have that flavour will be quite dominant. So this way it's neutral. If you got some za'atar to make the chia seed crackers with, that I did a video a few weeks ago, put some of that in here, that'll be delicious. I might put a few cubes in the freezer and then I can tell you how it freezes, how best to defrost it, that kind of thing. Check the pinned comment, I'll stick all recipe notes and tips down there for you. I'll take this moment to say a great big thank you to my supporters on Patreon and send you a great big digital hug. Your help and support keeps me lifted up and keep on trucking through the difficult times. If you want to sign up, I'll leave a link down in the description for you. Hit subscribe if you want more protein-packed meat alternative ideas. If you want them served freshly to you each week, be sure to turn on notifications. While you're waiting for the next one, drop me a little like and then head over to this one.